If you like to do what the rich do and build a sustainable and growing financial foundation, continue to watch my presentation. What I do, very, very different. I do a advanced reconnaissance. Speaking of that, I'm giving you some military analogy. What does it mean, advanced reconnaissance? It means that if a good real estate investor buys an existing housing location, especially where they live. Most people, they don't know any better. They are taught, well, wherever you live, buy investment properties in your neighborhood because that's all you know. But a great real estate investor buys into a emerging housing market before it explodes. What do I mean by that? Live where you want to live, which is presumably all of you live in California, probably Northern California, probably in the Bay Area, like I do. But invest where the numbers make sense. So you do agree that the numbers does not make sense to buy a rental property in California, especially in the Bay Area. Historic investment deals and your exit strategies. So let's analyze some great investment deals out there that very few people talk about. I don't know some of you follow hockey or not, but I don't follow hockey that much. I'm not a die-hard fan, but I understand the concept of hockey. A good hockey player plays where the puck is. A great hockey player plays where the puck is going to be. See, this is the word, the puck is going to be. This is a quote by the greatest hockey player in the world, Wayne Gretzky, back in the early 90s, I believe. What does that mean? So you have to anticipate where the market is going. Where is the next up-and-coming marketplace for you? With that in mind, like I said, I already discussed that. I have used this kind of blueprint ever since back in the early 2000s when I left the military, when I retired, when I started to implement my business model, my system, my process, my procedure. Live at that time, when I retired in 2002, I lived in the Bay Area. So I told myself, hey, you cannot cash flow the house. The rental properties are too expensive in the Bay Area. You need to go out of state, find markets that the numbers make sense, where the housing prices are cheaper. You can the rent you collect based on 20 to 25% down payment. You can receive monthly positive cash flow. Make the long story short, myself and hundreds of my investors and my students, they followed my lead. They went to back in 2002, 2003, 2004. I purchased and made my students purchase in Las Vegas, Boise, Phoenix, just to name a few. And at that time, those single family homes, back then, we're talking new construction, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, right here, new construction around 1050 square foot. Those are entry-level homes. That's what you should buy. You should buy entry-level homes, new construction in those emerging markets. So back then, back in 2002, we're talking like a little bit more than 20 years ago, the price point we bought around approximately was $150K, $200K in Boise, $175K in Phoenix and a few other places. But now we fast forward 20-something years later, those very same houses, if you hold it for the long term, that's the key. Hold it for the long term. The value of those houses is around double and triple in value for $500K, $600K, $575K, and so forth and so on. That's early 2000. You hold it for the long term, right? And then the second boom time to buy, right at the bottom of the housing crash. Housing crash occurred 2008 and 2009. Then a few years later, around 2013, 2019, myself and my students, investors, we bought low. The prices were very low. We remember back then. You guys remember? So we bought at a very huge discount. There was a lot of foreclosures and short sales at that time. We made a killing buying low, selling high. Buying low, don't sell at all, actually, better than that. At that time, the prices were so cheap. And then you buy those foreclosures and in nice locations, similar in those areas, mainly in the Sun Belt area, South and Southeast, and the Western region, Southwest. These are the deals that was available to you. So we hold it. We bought it 10, 15 years ago. for 150 to 200K. Now, those very same houses that we purchased is probably like 500 to 600K. See how the compounding of wealth occurs when you hold the properties long term. And those markets that we enter were Austin, Houston, Dallas, Raleigh, Charlotte, Atlanta, and a few more. We just name a few. Been there, done that. So it's just so fascinating. Then another housing boom occurred very recently, the pandemic housing boom during the COVID times, and when the Federal Reserve they lowered the mortgage interest rate to all the way down to 3%, which is a historical low rate. So as a result, so many people qualified to buy rental properties at that time in 2020 to the first half of 2022, when the mortgage rate was 3 to 4%. So we're seeing bidding wars and multiple offers everywhere. It's just a it's a pandemonium. So prices skyrocketed during those 18 months time frame. So myself and my students, we bought in Central Florida, in the Midwest, and in the South and Southeast, Texas and Florida, Georgia and Alabama. So we made a killing. And then now fast forward today, all those good times are gone. Since 2020, the second half of 2022, with the mortgage rate when it skyrocketed back up from 3% to all the way to 7 to 8%. Remember the latter part of the second half of 2022, and then 2023, and then 2024, and now we are in the first quarter of 2025, and the mortgage rate went all the way up to 7 to 8% in the past 18, 24 months, and everything changed. But at the same time, a lot of people thought that we're going to have a housing crash, but we did not. And because a lot of people, they're locked into the 3% mortgage rate, so they're not selling. They are staying put. So they're not getting rid of the low rates. A lot of people are, what's that word? The lock-in effect. So therefore, even with the higher mortgage rate, 7 to 8%, no more bidding wars, no more multiple offers. Things are very challenged now. So the higher mortgage rate has caused the housing market to stabilize. Not a crash. A lot of people predicted the crash in the past 2 years. It did not happen because, believe it or not, demand of housing is still higher, the lack of supply. That's what we're seeing right now. So moving forward, just so you know, moving forward is a lot harder to make any kind of deals these days. No more double-digit appreciation, no more high cash flow these days. So things are coming back to a balanced for the most part. Then again, as a real estate investor, if there's a way, you buy, that's the way you should think. There's no national real estate market. Real estate is hyper-local. Do some hyper-local research on markets is always the first step to any real estate investment journey. No two metros are the same. Every area, every neighborhood, every city, every state, every region have different economic metrics, different employers, different airport access, landlord laws, lease forms, business regulations, property tax situation, state income tax situation, relocation trends, lending availability, highway access, suburban layout. So that's why it's important to focus on your buy box and find a specific market to buy your rental properties. And I'm going to teach you how, like I said before. All right, does it make sense? And in 2025 beyond, this is my top 10 markets to pull the trigger: Oklahoma, Central Florida, North Texas, Alabama, Tennessee, and Buffalo, New York. This is just my personal opinion because, again, I'm not married to any market. I just date those markets. But I married the rental property. It's long-term. It will provide me some cash flow and appreciation potential. Date the interest rate, marry the house. You heard that before. So these are titans. You can be, you can reach the next potential as well. You may not be as rich as these people, but they have a mindset which allows them to be very wealthy. So you, as a mom and pop investor, you can do the same. You need to think big. There's no limitation. That's just what you can do. The American dream is very much alive. You gotta have to want it. You gotta have the motivation. You gotta have the commitment to stay the course and take systematic action and invest over time. So if you want to get out of the rat race, this is the opportunity. So don't be like most people out there. You live paycheck to paycheck. So you can do better. Let's talk about you determine why you are or want to invest in real estate. What you want real estate to do for you. What you want to get out of it. The short term, the next couple of years. And the long term, the next 10 to 25 years. So what is most important to you? You want to buy for cash flow, appreciation, for tax benefit, or all of the above. So you have to determine that. Number 4, how do you want your investment to impact your family? You want to create a generational wealth. You want to pass on your real estate wealth to your children and grandchildren down. You want to create generational wealth. You can do that when you buy real estate, rental properties, and invest for the long term. So what are you willing to sacrifice today for your future? You need to live within your means. You have to live below your means, as a matter of fact. You have to sacrifice. You have to save money, which is not easy to do because it's so tempting to buy so many things out there to achieve immediate gratification. But sometimes you have to sacrifice immediate gratification, knowing down the road you can benefit from your sacrifice that you're on right now. So what does financial freedom or retirement look like for you and your spouse if you're married? So you have to talk with your spouse. What does financial freedom means to you? How much monthly passive income through real estate you want to achieve? $10,000 per month? $15,000 per month? How many years it take you to get there? How many rental properties you need to buy on a systematic, one rental at a time to reach those goals? So you have to work back. You have to work back the future retirement goal into the present. Do the calculation. How much rental income projected forward? What's your inflation projection? What's your rental income projection between now and 10 to 15 years later so you can achieve the monthly income you want from your real estate portfolio? Those are hardcore questions. You need to write it down. You need to write down these kind of goals because you need to hold yourself accountable. Once you have done this, you are on your way to building your life plan that will provide more clarity than you have ever had before, allowing you to make better daily decisions to achieve your long-term financial goals. Now, having said that, we live in the age of social media and technology and artificial intelligence and all that. Is so much noise out there. Is so much information overload. So with that said, if you I assume you work full-time, you have a W-2 job, whatever, and any available time you have, you surf the internet, right? You surf the YouTube channel, you surf the Instagram. The problem that I've seen, and I've done a lot of searching myself, obviously, most real estate quote unquote gurus and YouTube content creators, they promote a lot of types of rent junk houses, and they proceed to hype their paper gains. Look, there are 1,000 ways to invest. You need to come down to a personal choice. What is your specific buy box? What is your criteria? You can't be all over the place. You have to pick an investment strategy and go with that. I have my personal favorite, and I'll tell you momentarily, but maybe you already know. But there are so many different ways to invest in real estate. You can do fix and flip. You can do BRRR, buy, renovate, refinance, repeat. You can do wholesaling. You can do subject to. You can do short-term rental. You can do mid-term rental. You can do long-term rental. There's so many ways. So you need to create your own specific buy box. Furthermore, those YouTube fake gurus, when you watch their videos, I just cringe. I just cringe because it is so misleading, inaccurate. It is so overhyped the way when they do their YouTube presentations, they talk about deals. Well, I can get this deals, that deals. In a space of 10-minute presentation, they talk about deals 50 times. It just pissed me off. Anyway, a lot of fake gurus out there from TikTok, Instagram, podcast, videos, live events, Facebook chat, whatever. They talk a good game. They are professional salesmen. They are maybe in their previous life, they could have been a used car salesman for all I know. As a matter of fact, there's a very famous YouTube real estate gurus out there. He used to be a used car salesman. He's overhyped. They know how to market their services. They scam a lot of people. There are some good ones out there, but you have to be careful because the YouTube world is a Wild West. The YouTube channels out there are the Wild West. Be careful who you connect with. There's a lot of red flags out there, so don't trust anyone. So a lot of those YouTube gurus is, oh, my students bought 100 doors. My 21-year-old students just barely out of college have no money, no credit. He was able to buy 100 doors in the past 6 to 12 months. What the heck does that mean? What the heck does the doors mean? Does that mean that the young punk have 100 rental properties or what? And how he able to finance or pay for those doors for those 100 properties if he doesn't have any money or doesn't have any credit? All this is very misleading. That young investor does not have 100 dollars. He's probably buying to a syndication of some sort. He's paying a couple of $1,000s on a fraction of shares of a multi-unit apartment building. He put $1,000 into a real estate investment trust, into a REIT, like on a multi-unit where he and 1,000 investors are putting fractional shares of their money. And then he claims, I own $100. No, you don't own $100. You own a very small fractional shares of that 100-unit, multi-unit property. So don't try to overhype your wealth. This is just one example of many examples. The other investment methodologies that are promoted by these real estate gurus out there, oh, they do fix and flip. Oh, how successful it is. Oh, they could sign you up as a coaching client. You pay them 20 grand coaching fee, and then they'll walk you through the process. Then they'll give you a lot of materials, training materials. Oh, as a student, they want you to buy from distressed homeowners. Offer 30 to 50% discount. Go door knocking. Go make these respectful offers to those homeowners in distress, or make 300 offers just to get one accepted. Or send out mailers, or buy from the multiple listing service. They grind you and pretend that you're doing a lot of work. You have a skin in the game. All the work you do is really worth it because they are coaching you. You're paying tons of money, 20, 30, 40 grand up front for coaching fee. At the end of the day, you have no money left over to buy a property because all your money has been used up by paying the fee. At the end of the day, you end up with nothing. All right, this is just one of many examples out there, so be careful. So these kind of programs out there, these kind of investment methodologies out there, a lot of people have seen it. A lot of times over my years of experience, all these people will crash and burn, all junk. They buying junk, garbage properties. So and more with the technology and access to information out there, more and more investors are flooding the market, and which is make it very difficult to buy real properties in a real way, which I will show you. So if you're not careful, you could waste hours of your precious time cold calling, driving for dollars, or going to pointless networking events, wasting years and decades of education, or bad education for that matter, and have end up with nothing to show for, very little to show for. What I want to do is I want to give you a serious leg up, an unfair advantage over the average investors out there. So when you're hearing my presentation, look, I'm only going to give you some real practical experience that I've personally done myself. It's not theory. What I'm teaching you is practical information, not shared by others. So by paying this modest fee to, let's suppose this is college, you're getting some tremendous value because the things I'm going to teach you are not really practiced out there, because you have to know who your source are. Your source, you have to get your information from the credible, respectable, credible source out there to have a good reputation. That been there, done that. All right. And I have been there, done that multiple times. Been through the up cycle, down cycle, sideways cycle, all kind of real cycles, and still survive and thrive to this day. Then you need to I'm going to show you how to find and analyze and close all those kind of deals so you can scale your real estate business and do it part-time. You need to continue to retain your job, keep your W-2 job, keep your day job, because you know why? because you need your W-2 job to qualify to get financing. The financing you can get, you need to get investment loans. You need to get the 30-year fixed rate debt is the key to leverage your real estate portfolio. Don't buy rental properties for all cash. You need to put 20 to 25% down on each deal. That's how you leverage your finances. All right. So you'll learn how to risk management strategies, negotiation tactics, and then once you learn a system, one I'm going to teach you tonight. The systems and process and procedures, you gotta have a system. That's what I learned when I was with my 20 years of active duty. Everything the military they have there's a system. There's a chronological thing. So you have to organize. You have to find the right system. The system is the blueprint. So my 20 years in the military, at that time, I did not know. But when I retire, I used the training that in the military allowed me to become a very successful realistic entrepreneurs. And I used a lot of the military concepts to this day to achieve my financial freedom and help a lot of students out there. All right, but this is the kind of formula you need to I'm not going to go over this. I have other YouTube videos that can talk about how to analyze your deals, how to use numerical formulas. But I'll touch on it just a little bit. The most important is the cash on cash return on your investment, and capitalization rate. This is not, I know it looks very technical, but some of you already know what I'm talking about. If you own at least one rental properties, you notice numerical formula. So when you analyze a deal, you have to apply this. To me, it's a simple numerical formulas. There's a benchmark that if you apply these numerical formulas, and you can learn it. This is 6th grade education, by the way. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to learn this simple numerical formula concepts, which is a must for you, whether you are a rookie beginner or a savvy investor. You will need to continue to apply these numerical benchmark metrics to analyze any kind of deals out there. Does that make sense? Once again, I have made numerous videos that will break down these type of formulas. So it's not hard to do. It's very simple. I will talk a little bit more about it as well. Once again, the typical YouTube people out there, those fake gurus, and they promoted this kind of markets. A lot of them are located in the Midwest. Cheap houses, like $69,000 houses somewhere in the Midwest. So that's what they promote. I'm not saying this kind of concept is bad. Investors have done well over the years, over many years actually. So you have to know where to buy, when to buy, how to buy, where to buy, who are your sources, who are your team on the ground that can find this kind of deals for you. But right off the bat, they look at how the cheap prices all over the Midwest. We're talking Tennessee, Kentucky, Michigan, or Indiana, or Illinois, or Ohio, or wherever. These are typical Midwest markets where houses are very old, houses are very cheap. You can cash flow a lot. But if you don't know what you're doing, because these are dilapidated homes located in a not so great neighborhood, you may get some great cash flow because they're so cheap and the rent is high relative to the price. But you have to be careful. Don't fall under the spell of this fake real estate gurus that think you could get some great deals in this kind of market buying this type of rough neighborhoods. You know why? One of the reasons why, because when you buy a lot older homes, especially when the seller they don't rehab the property. If you rehab even older homes, you can still make it work. You can still have a successful real estate investing career. But an older home, 50 to 100 years old home, many of them, I'm not saying all, right? Some of my investors, including myself, we have done well with this in the Midwest market, where you buy very cheap homes, you rehab it nicely, make it turnkey, and have a professional property manager in that local area manage it for you. You can still do very well. This is one of the investment methodology, which are not my favorite. And I'll tell you momentarily what is my most favorite business investment model. I will share it with you. But let me conclude this by saying that when you buy the numbers works on paper, the rent is very high relative to the low purchase price. When you buy these so-called high cash flow properties in this kind of market with the low appreciation potential, On paper, it looks very good. At least initially, you might be able to get a good deal, 50% discount when you buy through a distressed seller, for example, as I alluded to. But for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you may experience some high level of stress. What I mean by that, it means that if you buy in a B class or C, even a C class neighborhood, if you will, on an older property, then you look at your maintenance, 10 to 13%, double-digit maintenance, double-digit vacancy factors on 1 to 4 unit or 5 units or more, a commercial or multi-unit, or even worse, if you buy in a C class area, I assign the grades on a specific market. You can have anywhere from 12 to 15% annual maintenance issues and vacancies as well. And that can potentially eat away all your cash flows that you thought you accumulated. And appreciation in this kind of market are not going to overcome the cost of maintenance, excess maintenance, and excess vacancy to over any kind of cash flow. High cash flow, for that matter, you were able to accumulate in the last few years, all wiped out by excessive maintenance and vacancies, especially on a C-class type of neighborhoods, rough neighborhoods. So be careful for the reasons I just told you. So when you buy too many of this kind of older homes, it's not sustainable. My goal for you is when you buy a property, you need to hold it for the long term. You can have less stress. Let a property manager do all the work for you. And so you can hold that property 10, 20, 30 years until you die, and then you pass on your wealth generationally to your children and grandchildren. Generational wealth transfer. So that's the best way to do it. I don't know. So hopefully you'll agree. The next question is, if I'm not going to buy this low-cost, high cash flow properties in the Midwest, where am I going to buy? I have a solution for you, but you have to hold that thought. So listen, you live in California, Las Vegas is only a 1-hour flight. Let's buy a rental property in Las Vegas. You gotta know how to do the math. You gotta know the numerical formulas, for example. Look, a typical single-family home in Las Vegas right now, let's say the $460,000, typical cookie cutter single-family home. So the question is, you need to have a rent that is like almost 1% of the purchase price. 1% multiplied by purchase price, you may need to collect a rent of $4,000 at least in order to cash flow with 25% down payment. So are you going to get $4,000 rent on this property? No. The most you can get is $2,000 rent. How can you buy a property for almost $500,000 in Las Vegas? Oh, by the way, I use Las Vegas. It could be Boise, Idaho. It could be Phoenix, Arizona. It could be any of those mid-sized market. In a typical single-family home is $500K, or it could be in California somewhere, Sacramento, or the Inland Valley, Inland Empire in Southern California. A cookie cutter entry-level homes, 11, 12, 1,300 square foot is already $500K. But if you only collect rent for $2,000, I'll save you the trouble. You're not going to cash flow unless you buy all cash. If you have $500,000 to buy all cash to buy one rental property, yeah, you will cash flow. But what's the point? You're not leveraging. You're putting all your eggs in one basket. If I use the power of leverage. I use the power of a 30-year debt of a loan and do 20 to 25% down payment. Instead of buying Las Vegas, I'll buy somewhere else by doing a leverage. By getting a loan, so I can multiply the properties and still cash flow nicely. Does it make sense? So that number does not make sense anywhere in a western region, anywhere west of the Mississippi, where the price of a single-family home is already $450,000, $460K, $500,000. In the case of a San Francisco Bay Area, where you and I live, in our area, in a Tri-Valley, whatever, single-family home of 1,300 square foot probably costs at least $1 million. And the rent you're going to collect, maybe $3,000, maybe $3,500. You're not going to cash flow. So go out of state, buy somewhere else. And so I'll do the number for you. So that particular property at 25% down payment, the Las Vegas property at 25% down payment, your monthly net cash flow fee is $1,000 monthly negative cash flow going to come out of your pocket. Iris by case. Agree? If you don't want to agree with me, let me know. Put it in the chat box so you're not going to confront me on the numbers. The number does not make sense based on today's mortgage rate, 7% or higher. It's not going to work. The number's simply not going to work. Don't pay all cash anyway. Oh, I could pay all cash so I can cash flow. Oh, really? Are you kidding me? Or what are you talking about? Please leverage 25% down payment or even 20%.